Desmond Thomas Doss grows up in a small, rough household in Lynchburg, Virginia, during the years between the two world wars. His father, Tom Doss, is a traumatized World War I veteran who drinks heavily and carries the weight of violence home with him. His mother, Bertha, is deeply religious and tries to shield her sons from the anger and fear that often fills the house. From an early age, Desmond is different from other boys. He is quiet, thoughtful, and deeply sensitive to right and wrong. One incident in childhood leaves a permanent mark on him. After a fight with his younger brother Hal, Desmond nearly kills him by striking him with a brick. The horror of what he almost did shakes him to his core. Around the same time, he notices a poster depicting the 10 Commandments, particularly the commandment that reads, "Thou shalt not kill." That single line becomes a moral anchor for Desmond, shaping the rest of his life. As Desmond grows older, his faith deepens. He becomes a Seventh-day Adventist, a denomination that strongly emphasizes pacifism, Sabbath observance, and respect for life. To Desmond, faith is not something abstract. It is something lived, something that governs every action he takes. He refuses to fight, refuses to harm others, and believes that every human life has value, even in the worst circumstances. This belief puts him at odds with the world around him, especially as the shadow of World War II spreads across America. When the Japanese attack Pearl Harbor, the country erupts with patriotic fervor. Young men rush to enlist, driven by duty, anger, and a desire to protect their homeland. Desmond feels that same pull to serve. He wants to help his country, to stand up against tyranny and violence. But he also knows he cannot pick up a weapon. To him, killing another human being, even in war, would destroy his soul. After long prayer and reflection, Desmond decides to enlist in the U.S. Army as a medic. He believes this path allows him to serve without. As the landing craft grind toward the shores of Okinawa, the air is thick with smoke and thunder. Naval guns pound the island relentlessly, shaking the water and the men inside the boats. Desmond Doss grips his medical kit and silently prays, not for his own safety, but for the strength to help others when chaos erupts. When the ramps drop, the soldiers rush forward into mud, debris, and the lingering shockwaves of bombardment. At first, the beach seems strangely quiet, almost empty. The silence is unsettling, as if the island itself is holding its breath. The unit advances inland, spreading out cautiously. Soon, the calm breaks. Hidden Japanese artillery and machine gun fire tear through the landscape. Explosions throw dirt and bodies into the air. Men fall screaming, wounded or dead, before they even understand what is happening. Desmond moves instinctively, dropping beside the injured, applying bandages, administering morphine, and dragging men to cover. He works without pause, bullets snapping overhead, shrapnel ripping through trees and earth. Some soldiers glance at him in disbelief. This unarmed man they once mocked is now running directly into fire to save them. The most dangerous obstacle looms ahead, Hacksaw Ridge. It is a sheer cliff face, almost vertical, with cargo nets hanging down its side. To secure the island, the ridge must be taken. Under constant fire, the men begin the climb. One by one, they ascend the nets, exposed and helpless, knowing a single bullet can send them plunging to their deaths. Desmond climbs with them, his medical bag banging against his side, his hands raw and bleeding. At the top, the battlefield is worse than anything they imagined. The ridge is a nightmare of smoke, blood, and screams. Japanese soldiers emerge from hidden bunkers and tunnels, launching surprise attacks from every direction. Mortars explode among the Americans, tearing bodies apart. Flamethrowers are used to clear enemy positions, filling the air with burning. The second assault on Hacksaw Ridge is even more brutal than the first. This time, the Americans know what waits for them at the top, and the fear is heavier because of it. As they climb the nets again, enemy fire rains down relentlessly. Explosions rip through the ropes, and men scream as they fall. Desmond climbs among them, focused and calm, his mind fixed on one purpose. When they reach the top, the ridge explodes into violence almost instantly. Japanese soldiers emerge from tunnels that seem to appear out of the earth itself. Machine guns open up from hidden positions. Mortars crash into the American lines, throwing bodies into the air. The fighting is close and savage. Men shoot at shadows, bayonet enemies at arm's length, and crawl through mud soaked with blood. Desmond moves through it all without hesitation. He runs toward screams, slides into shell craters to reach the wounded, and drags men away from open fire. His helmet and uniform are smeared with blood, much of it not his own. At one point, Desmond encounters a severely wounded Japanese soldier lying in agony. Without pausing to think, he treats him, binding his wounds and easing his pain. The soldier stares at him in disbelief, unable to understand why an enemy would show mercy. For Desmond, there is no enemy in that moment, only a human being suffering. That belief drives him forward again and again, even as the battle rages around him. The Americans begin to gain ground inch by inch. Flamethrowers are used to clear bunkers, filling the air with heat and smoke. The smell of burning flesh clings to everything. Desmond works continuously, his hands shaking from exhaustion, his body pushed far beyond its limits. Still, he refuses to stop. Each time someone tries to pull him back, he shakes his head and moves toward the next cry for help. During one fierce exchange, Desmond is hit by a grenade blast. Shrapnel tears into his leg, sending him crashing to the ground. Pain surges through him, but he forces. Desmond Doss is brought to the White House in a quiet, formal ceremony that feels far removed from the noise and blood of Okinawa. President Harry S. Truman stands before him, aware that he is about to honor a man whose courage took an entirely different shape than most wartime heroes. As the medal is placed around Desmond's neck, Truman tells him that he considers this honor greater than being President of the United States. Desmond accepts the Medal of Honor with visible humility, his eyes lowered, his hands trembling slightly. He does not see himself as a hero. To him, the real heroes are the men who never came home. After the ceremony, Desmond returns to civilian life, carrying both pride and pain with him. His injuries never fully heal. The wounds to his leg and arm cause constant discomfort, and the illnesses he contracted during the war weaken his body over time. Loud noises and sudden movements still take him back to the ridge, to the explosions and screams that shaped him forever. Yet, despite everything, Desmond refuses to become bitter. He leans into his faith, believing that survival itself is a responsibility. Desmond marries Dorothy, and together they build a simple life. They struggle financially at times, but their bond is strong, rooted in respect and shared hardship. Desmond works when he can, often limited by his physical condition. He never seeks fame or attention. When people recognize him, he deflects praise and redirects it toward God and the men he served with. He continues to live by the same principle that guided him through war: do no harm, help where you can, and remain faithful even when it is difficult. As years pass, Desmond's story begins to reach a wider audience. Veterans speak about him with reverence, describing the night on Hacksaw Ridge when wounded men descended from the cliff like miracles. His former commanders openly admit their mistakes, acknowledging that they misunderstood him completely. Desmond listens quietly to these